Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Red Shadow's favorite games. I'm the Red Shadow, and today we're going to be talking about a game/game series that is very near and dear to my heart. It's up there as far as powerful characters and story, like The Last of Us and To the Moon. And what we're talking about today is The Walking Dead. This is my physical copy that I have of the first season. I also own the episodes so far that have been released for the second season, but I did download those because after having waited around for nearly a year for the physical release of this to come out, I was like, I can't wait for the next episodes of this to release like this. When the second season comes out, I'll probably buy that. Especially if they decide to include the 400 Days DLC with the second season physical release, but they probably won't. They have a Game of the Year edition of this that had the 400 Days DLC, which I also downloaded. I wasn't going to miss any part of this series. And I just did a video on another game where I talked about a duo that was, very powerful and that I became very attached to, much like Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us. Well, this game right here, and those two right there, Lee and Clementine, that's another gaming duo that will always go down in the annals of my gaming favorites. An amazing duo right there. An amazing story revolving around those two, and a bunch of other characters. A lot of great characters. A lot of over-the-top characters, I think, probably for the sake of the story, and maybe just to emphasize the crazy situation that these people were experiencing, but I think some of the characters were maybe a little overboard in how they were depicted, but it just added to the drama. It enhanced the weight of the suspense and the doom and gloom that surrounds this. Now, if you don't know anything about The Walking Dead, then this would be another one of those times where I'd be like, where the hell have you been? What rock have you been hidden under? You'd be forgiven if you didn't know the graphic novel that the games and the TV show and everything are based on, but the TV show is what sparked the surge in popularity for this entire series. I don't think if it wasn't for the TV show, we probably wouldn't have this game. Now, the TV show is loosely based on the graphic novel. This is based more in the graphic novel's world, but there are characters and storylines that seem to have gravitated between the two. I have the first 3 seasons of The Walking Dead on Blu-ray, but I've only watched the first 2. I don't get AMC, which I'll show this real quick. I'll comment about it here in a little bit, but this is The Walking Dead Survival Instinct, a game more based on the TV show. But anyway, the TV show airs on AMC. I don't have cable. I barely have even local channels, so I don't get to watch it when it comes out. I'm not a big fan of going over to the computer and trying to watch it on some website. I may be getting into Netflix at some point soon. I think I mentioned that before. So if Netflix has the episodes a little sooner, I might start watching it there. But I'll still pick up the TV show. But I think there were elements from this game, the first season of this, that showed up in Season 3. I may be wrong, though. But anyway, this takes place in a world where, as you probably have figured out, something has happened. I believe it was some sort of a viral outbreak or something that's airborne anyway, that infects pretty much everybody. But nothing happens to you unless you've been bit or you have died, and then it's possible for you to come back as a typical traditional, zombie that stumbles around and wants to eat your brains. And you jump into the shoes of Lee, who is being sent off to prison for killing somebody, although I think it's kind of murky in the story as to just what the situation was. I don't think he I don't think he intended to kill this person, but it happened. So he was on his way to jail when all hell breaks loose. And honestly, I don't think I should say anything more about the story of this, because you'd be in for a hell of a thrill ride. If you want to play this, you need to just experience every last bit of it from the beginning. I think that's the way that The Last of Us should be. I think that's the way To the Moon should be. You should just go into it knowing very little about it, just enough to whet your appetite, and if it sounded like something you'd want to do, then you jump into it. That being said, I do want to mention the makers of this game, Telltale Games, that made this one, the 400 Days DLC, working on the second season of this. Prior to this, amongst probably some other games, they made a game series similar, kind of sort of similar to this, with a lot of choices. You make choices, pick your dialogue options and whatnot. You have a lot of times when you have to make a decision within just a couple of seconds, and sometimes that's just how you respond to somebody. It's very tense. You would think it wouldn't be, but it can be very tense when you only have a couple of seconds to respond, a couple of seconds to, choose a weapon or some sort of, it's a lot of like quick time event type stuff, but it really works well for this. But anyway, they did a similar style game for Back to the Future and Jurassic Park. I own Back to the Future on the PC, but I've never really played it. Jurassic Park I want to track down. Neither one of those games have been anywhere close as highly rated as The Walking Dead has been. Now, propelling forward, Telltale Games has spun this kind of formula off into a new series called The Wolf Among Us, which is equally amazing as this. It's just different. It has to do with another graphic novel that I believe is called Fables, and it has to do with a bunch of ex-fairy tale characters having to move into the real world and live in Fabletown, a section of New York, and live their lives outside of where they used to live, in the homeland. I could spend a whole, video talking about that, but it's still in progress. It's only a couple episodes out, but check that one out too. Check out The Walking Dead. And yeah, I think that's about all I can say about this. Now, I did say I was going to mention some more about this game. Okay, when I first heard about this game, at first I thought it was something else from Telltale Games. I come to find out that this was, I'm going to call it a cash-in game by Activision to cash in on the popularity of the TV show by actually having TV show characters here. This is Daryl and his brother Merle back here. These are incidents or events that happen to them between the zombie outbreak and where you pick them up in the show. The thing about the game is, because of the cash-in nature of it, the game feels unfinished. It just doesn't feel like they gave it the kind of polish that a big release should have. Why? Well, probably because they had a deadline and they wanted to strike while the iron was hot, which is, in my opinion, super stupid. It's 3-4 seasons in now and it's still just as popular as it ever was. This came out, well, it came out last year, but if they thought that they weren't going to get sales off of this, if it took a little bit longer, they were totally stupid. It has some interesting concepts to it. This is pretty much like a first-person shooter, but of course you're not armed to the teeth. You can't just go blowing into a mob of zombies with a machine gun. You have to be sneaky, stealthy, you have to be quiet, you have to reserve your ammo because you don't have much. You have to go do a lot of kind of like fetch quests. We'll go get this thing for somebody and they'll let you go here. You can recruit people that you find in different towns to join your party. Then they have these segments of the game, which I hadn't actually got to a proper one of these, but you literally are like traveling down the road and so you have to make a decision depending on how much gas you have and your supplies. Do you stop at this little town or do you go ahead and go on to the next bigger city? It had a lot of really cool sounding and intriguing concepts. that just didn't really. They just didn't really like I said, finish it. They didn't really fully flesh out the concepts that they had, and the game itself, like I said, it just looks ugly. It looks like somebody tried to put a PS2 game on the 360 without upscaling it in any way. I don't know. It just, to me, it looked like, I've played some games, I'm sure a lot of other people have played games on consoles like this, where you walk into an area and the textures kind of load in a little slowly. Well, that's what this game looks like, except they never fully load in. So, my recommendation would be, you absolutely need to try Walking Dead. Every last bit of this game that has been released, and anything with Telltale Games on it, especially this and Wolf Among Us, and possibly their future projects, which is Game of Thrones, and an actual series based on Borderlands, which I think is kind of silly, having a game based on another game, but whatever. On this, only do pick this up if, one, you can get it really cheap, and two, if you're just a massive collector and you want to have everything that you think that you need to have. If you find this for cheap, and you can throw it on your shelf just to say you have it. Otherwise, it's just not a complete game. Well, I don't have anything else to show in that. I'm a little bummed. When I pre-ordered the Walking Dead physical copy, I originally pre-ordered the special collector's edition that had the game, a nice big extra large box, and it came with like several volumes of the graphic novel included in a big book, and I kind of decided at the last minute not to go for that because it was like a $60 or $70 item, and the game itself was only $30. Now I kind of wish I would have splurged on that. I don't have a strategy guide. I don't even know if they made a strategy guide for this or not. It'd probably be hard to do because every choice that you make can kind of steer things in different directions. But they make strategy guides for just about everything, so I'll have to keep my eyes open for that. But that's The Walking Dead. Telltale Games, awesome. Thank you for putting out quality games like this. If I ever get into Game of Thrones, I will definitely check out that game. Check out the rest of the Season 2 of Walking Dead, the rest of the first season of The Wolf Among Us if they're going to continue that one on. No to the Borderlands one, though. I just don't care for the Borderlands games, so can't see myself getting into that. Anyway, I'm just kind of rambling now, so I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.